being on here, Steve. I appreciate you taking out time from your busy business. Sounds like you've been busy even today working on some stuff in your business, you said.
Oh, definitely.
Well, hey, let's start with where you started. This picture was taken back, I think, last year sometime. Was it in June, July?
Late June, I was there.
Late June. Okay, so you came through the training. And Steve, give us a feel for your background when you were looking into getting into our business. What were you doing at the time?
I was actually in pharmaceutical sales at the time.
Oh, okay, so you had some contact with doctors' offices already.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I had some decent contact. I was in that industry for about 12 years.
Oh, wow, that's super. Well, did it just get to the point where the doctor, it's getting tough to sell the drugs to the doctors, or what happened there? Why did you want to switch?
Well, I mean, a lot was changing. A lot of just different regulations were impacting us, our time with physicians, really, you name it. Industry was changing and a lot of downsizing.
Right. I knew at one time I even heard that you guys were giving out all kinds of little giveaways to the doctors, and they kind of put the kibosh on that, didn't they? They won't let you give them little gifts and things.
Yeah, no, they thought that would sway a physician into writing a prescription for some reason.
So just having your company name on a pen would influence the doctor, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that even made it better for us in this business because we can give all those goodies away we want to.
Precisely.
All right, so let's see if I remember. Steve, you came to the training by yourself, or did you have somebody with you?
No, I came by myself.
Yeah, okay. And give us your impression. Now, remember, the folks on this webinar today, of course, are just like you were, a year ago or so, looking at getting into the business. What was your mindset when you came down for the training? What did you expect, and what did you get out of it?
I mean, I just came down with a very open mind. I mean, I had obviously had experience as far as calling on doctors and how difficult it was. So, I think my big thing was just trying to, get a better understanding for the systems that were available through ABS. Kind of how they improve the office and the physician's workflow and mindset, so to speak. And then, I was very curious to see if there were any different marketing tools that you guys had that, obviously hadn't used in pharma.
Yeah, so as you know, we take a good portion of that week to go through our marketing ideas and the tools that we have for our licensees and all the different methods that we've perfected over the last 20 years. So what was your impression about the marketing section?
I thought the marketing was great. I think I kind of came to training thinking it was going to be more of a product-focused training. I was pleasantly surprised on, how much you guys focused on the marketing side, getting in front of physicians, and really trying to help us get our first customer, because obviously that's the big thing.
Yeah, it's the biggest fear that most people have. I think we would have just about 99% of the people who look into our business sign up with us if they thought that they were going to be guaranteed that they could get a client. In fact, some of them ask us, well, can you find a client for us and just get us one? Well, we just decided a long time ago that wasn't our model. We are not in the medical billing business. We were, of course, for many years there, my wife and I, and then we decided to teach people and support people who were doing it. So we don't compete with our licensees. And so even though we're not in the training, in the actual billing business right now, we do have trainers who come down that are, actual licensees out there doing what you're doing. And in fact, hopefully somewhere down the line, Steve, we can have you come down and do some training. You'd be open to that, huh?
Yes, sounds great.
Well, hey, you've got a lot of people typing in questions here. I'm going to address some of these as we go along. First of all, Steve, we didn't talk about where you're from, so why don't you address what state you're in?
I'm actually just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay. And were you there when you started the business last year?
Yes. I've lived here for about 10 years now.
Okay. So what's the model for your business? Do you have anybody working with you in your business with you?
I have a business partner whom we kind of basically we're under one umbrella, but we run our own business, so to speak. So I basically run mine. I do have a lady who does most of the claims for me, but really it's just she and I.
Oh, good. Okay, so it's just you and one other person, and you're working still out of your home.
Correct. I have a home office, and then, that's the great thing about this business. If you don't want to, swamp yourself with overhead costs, you can do that because it's all online.
Yeah, it's all online, so you can log in from any computer, your iPad, your phone if you wanted to. I guess it's kind of tiny on the phone, but you could look at your system from literally any device that's connected to the internet anytime, couldn't you?
Correct.
I think that's hard for some people to wrap their brain around because they're always worried about, of course, the security of the data and so forth. You haven't had any issues with that, obviously, because we haven't as a company.
No, not at all.
And of course, it's all stored on redundant servers out there, which are protected and follow the guidelines of HIPAA, which is the Health Insurance Portability Act that came about back in 1965. So it's all protected data, backed up nightly, and so forth. So you're working from your home. This other person that you have working for you, they're working from their home, or do they come to yours?
No, they work from their home. Actually, she's in a completely different state even.
Oh, she's in a different state. Really?
Correct. Yes.
Now, how did that come about? Did you know her ahead of time?
Yeah, she's actually a friend of the family. She was used to work in a medical office years ago, and she was just looking for something that she could do a few days a week, and it was a perfect fit.
Oh, boy, that is perfect. Well, people ask all the time, if they can sign up doctors in other states outside their own area. Have you done that at this point? Anybody outside your area?
I haven't. All of my physicians are probably within 30 miles of me.
Oh, well, that's nice. You can go visit them if you need to from time to time. Yeah.
Exactly.
So how many clients do you have right now?
Currently, I have 14 physicians.
Wow. Can you give us a feel for what type of, type of doctor specialties they are?
Yeah, probably about 70% of my physicians are physical therapy. And then the rest, let's see, I have 3 pain management, and then I have 2 internal medicine physicians.
Okay. Well, hey, did you aim for those types of doctors specifically, or did they just happen?
They just pretty much happen.
Yeah, sometimes people will go after a particular specialty. Maybe they want a surgeons or, like you said, physical therapists even is a good category, pediatricians, podiatrists, and so forth. But sometimes it just happens that you get a referral and your first doctor is a physical therapist, for example, and then, of course, those physical therapists, if you do a good job, will refer you to others. I guess that's kind of how your business has grown, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best way. Like we've always talked about, once you get that first one, you're doing a nice job with them, then, hopefully the referrals, start kicking in, and that's truly what happened with mine.
All right, so here's some questions coming in. Steve, let's address some of them as they come in here so we don't get too far behind. Janice is asking, what marketing strategy was most effective for you in getting your first client?
That's a very unfair question for me because I really didn't have a marketing strategy. My first client I landed within, I think, 3 weeks of coming back from training.
Wow.
And I was still doing my old pharma job. So I had a lunch one day. I was early, and I just happened to look over to the right side of this strip mall and saw a physical therapy office, and I just walked in and made a cold call.
Oh, really? Just kind of off the top of your head, you said, "Hey, I think I'll go talk to those folks," huh?
Yeah, that was it. They were my first customer.
Wow, were they looking for an outside biller at the time?
They were doing the billing internally, and yeah, they did want to outsource it. They had actually been looking at EMR systems for probably about 3 or 4 weeks, and I honestly, I just happened to walk in at the right time. A couple of meetings, a couple of demos later, we hit it off, and they signed up.
Yeah, sometimes that's the way it happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's sometimes just timing, basically.
Yeah. So I say it's an unfair question just because that happened, and I was so busy from that point moving forward. I honestly have not. I think in a year and a half I've been to, and not that I want to say this to Patrick, but I think I've only been to one networking meeting in a year and a half because I just haven't had the time.
Well, hey, I guess that's a good thing, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's funny because I've had lots of licensees tell me the same thing, Steve. That is, they did what we told them to do and how we told them to do it here at the training, and they got their first client, and they never looked back because at that point it just kind of sometimes just multiplies on you. Well, obviously, 14 clients within a year's time, that's a great growth pattern. So let's see. Here's one from Rich. He says, "I am from outside Philadelphia. Will we compete?" What do you think about competition at this point, Steve?
You know what? I haven't run into any competition, to be honest with you. Even with other, even with other systems, there are plenty of physicians out there who still aren't on EMR, and even a lot of them that are, like the one I just signed up, they're not happy with their EMR system. So I don't see competition as being something that you're going to run into anytime soon.
Yeah, well, hey, you just mentioned that you had just gotten this recent doctor. Tell us about that particular client and how you got this client, and are they a physical therapist as well?
No, it's actually a pain management office.
Oh, pain management. Okay. And so that's the one that you were at, you said today or yesterday, trying to kind of help them get going.
Yeah, they went live in the system on Monday. So, that's one of the great things about, the way we're set up, and especially if you have clients that are close to your house, is that no other company has, representatives in the field that can kind of help these offices, walk through the pains of setting up an EMR system. So, I find it to be huge to be able to be there, especially that first week, for 4 or 5 hours a day, just to kind of, hold their hand a little bit and help them out. And, if there's a question that they have, even if you don't have the answer, we have a great support staff, and you can go to them and get those answers for them.
Yeah, and this one, did you say that this one came from a referral?
Yes, this was a referral from actually my PT office, just a friend of one of the PTs who was looking at a system, and he recommended me.
Well, hey, that's the best kind, isn't it? I mean, it's almost like an introduction from that one provider to another.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's see. Here's a question from another Steve that's on the webinar today. Can you ask him how many clients he has picked up over his first year? Oh, well, we just addressed that, 14, Steve. You probably asked that before I asked that to him. Ted has an interesting question. Ted says, Steve, what does a qualified prospect look like?
Qualified prospect. Well, I mean, it can look like a lot of different things. They can be an office that isn't up and running on EMR. They can be an office that is outsourcing their billing and they're not happy. I mean, there are really a lot of kind of like buying signals, if you would, that, you'll pick up along the way that will help you know that, what, this is a customer that would be a good one to go after hard.
Yeah, I mean, unless a doctor has told you or the office manager, well, hey, we're doing our own billing and we're quite happy with it and we don't even want to think about outsourcing. Just about anybody else that's out there is open to it, because if they've already outsourced, I don't know about you, Steve, but I've heard licensees say that their best prospective doctors out there are ones that have already decided that it's best to outsource. They're just not happy with the reporting or right, the rejection rate or something from their current biller. Have you found that to be true? Have most of your clients been outsourcing already, or?
Yeah, only the one hasn't been, and all the others had been outsourcing. And I mean, you kind of hit it right on the head. One of the first questions I ask them is, what do you get from your billing company monthly that kind of lets you know where you are, as far as revenue coming in and kind of what they're billing you for. And to be honest with you, and I was always really surprised, they just look at me and like nothing. They send me a bill. I just kind of laugh and shake my head.
Yeah, that's incomprehensible, isn't it? No wonder they're looking around for somebody else that can, because they really want the information. They feel like they're in the dark sometimes, don't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, do you give access to your doctors? Restricted access to the system to actually see their reports, or do you just print them out and give them to them?
I give them restricted access to it. But in most instances, at the end of the month when I bill them, I print out a sheet for them that summarizes, each insurance company, how much they receive from them during that 30-day or 15-day span, and then, attach that to the bill so they have it.
Yeah, that way they can know that you're not just making all that stuff up.
Yeah, it makes it easy for them to compare that to their bank statements and, verify that they're actually being billed correctly.
Yeah. Janice is asking, did you write a business plan?
No.
I don't know of many people who've actually put together a business plan. Sometimes people do that when they're trying to, look for funding. The banks might need something like that, but for most people, they just take some of the figures. Like if you go to our website, there's a place where you can actually find out how many doctors it's going to take to make, the kind of money that you want to make. Little calculator out there.
And I guess to address that a little bit, Patrick, I remember when I was in training back in June that, the trainers had a sheet that they put together and they outlined, and they kind of made us promise that you do A, B, and C so many times a week, and you do X, Y, and Z, so many times, a month and so forth. So, it kind of gives you an outline, like a template, so to speak, to follow. But yeah, that's really all I had.
Yeah, that's and we can help with that, folks. If you're on here today on the webinar and needing some input for putting together some sort of business plan or a projection, we have tools that your ABS rep can give you to help you with that. All right, let's see. Here's a question from Steve. He says, does he find the physical therapist bill the average of about $100 per visit like a general practitioner? What is the average of a physical therapist billing?
It's not $100. It's right at 80.
80.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. That can vary, Patrick. If the office is really heavy on workman's comp, then that number can go above 100. But if they're really high on, Medicare, Medicaid, and things like that, then it's down closer to 100.
Okay. Yeah, it just depends on the type of visit. He also wants to know, do they see, anywhere like 20, 25 patients a day, or what kind of volume do they have usually?
Yeah, they're actually probably a little bit more than that. It's hit or miss. The physical therapy group I have has a couple of part-time physicians. And to give you an idea, in our system, a part-time physician is considered 100 or less than 100 patients a month. So I have like 3 of those in my network. So for the most part, I'd say they're seeing closer to 30 patients.
Oh, wow. So they can see 30 patients a day.
Correct.
Well, they're kind of like a chiropractor can see sometimes even more than that, depends on how long they stay with the patient in there. But some of them, snap, crackle, pop, next. They can take them through there pretty quickly.
Yeah, most of them, I think this office runs with like 1 aide per PT, so they're able to see multiple patients at a time and really keep it flowing.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Ted wants to know, what are some qualifying questions that you ask the doctor to see if they are a prospect? You kind of mentioned some of those a while ago, didn't you?
Yeah, a little bit. I know, when if you do get to go to training, they'll touch on a lot of that. Big things will be, about asking about their AR and, how late they are, as far as with receiving insurance payments. You ask them what their rejection rate is. Different things like that that'll definitely trigger numbers that'll help you out.
Yeah, I've had licensees tell me, Steve, that basically the only thing the doctor really knows is how much money, went into his bank account last month. And I think they're so focused on their practice and seeing patients that they kind of neglect the business side of their practice, the money side, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I love it when a doctor doesn't know what his AR is, especially his outstanding AR, because, then you can start throwing out national averages that, I know Patrick and the trainers will go through in training, and, you'll see their eyes open like, wow, is that my practice? And, yeah, they definitely, you pull them in and they want to hear more.
All right, let's see. Okay, Richard says, what is the average client billing income? I don't know really what he means by that. Can you give us a feel for some of your doctors, what kind of volume, dollar volume maybe they're billing?
Well, the physical therapists are over $200,000 a year. I mean, a month, I'm sorry.
Oh, wow. That's a lot. Yeah, that's good.
And so yeah, go ahead.
No wonder you like those.
Yeah.
That's a lot of dollar volume going through there. Let's see, even at $80 a piece, that's a bunch. And of course, how are you charging, Steve? Is it just on a percentage basis of the amount collected?
Correct.
Okay. And can you give us a feel for what range that is? What low to high in your area? What does that run? Is it like
low? Yeah, low is 5%. High is 7%.
Okay. Rich is asking a very personal question here that I wouldn't ask even my brother. It has to do with your revenue for a year, but can you give us a feel? Did it take long for you to replace, or I'm assuming you've replaced your previous income as a pharmaceutical rep?
Yeah, I mean, I actually resigned from my pharma job in October of last year. So October 15th of this month will be my 1-year anniversary for my last day.
Good. That's fantastic. Well, that was like, let's see, you came through in June, July, August, September, October. Yeah, so in about 4 months you were able to retire.
So to speak, yes.
Yeah, you probably work more hours now than you did back then, don't you?
I enjoy it more.
Let's see, Brian says, Steve, when you bill a doctor, do they send a check or do you do electronic debit? And have you had any trouble collecting from doctors?
I haven't, knock on wood, had any issues collecting. I've had a doctor run, 28 days late, but, I think it's more of her being so unorganized that it just got lost in the paperwork. But, no, typically I just send them a paper bill or I email it to them, and then they cut me a check back. And, knock on wood, I've not had any issues with that.
Yeah. No, we don't hear that from any licensees, but we do have some licensees who've set it up with their banks to, what they do is they tell the doctor, look, as a part of my contract, you'll see in there that I'm, you have to authorize me to debit your bank account for the amount of money that you owe me, assuming that you get the report from me and within, 5 business days or something, haven't, questioned that. That way it's just automatically drawn out of their bank account, and some of them do that, and it works quite well. They bill them about every 2 weeks, I think. Do you bill monthly or?
I do both. My solo practice physician, I bill her monthly, but my larger ones, I break it up so there's no sticker shock.
Oh, okay. All right, Richard wants to know, Steve, how many claims do you have to fill out a day? How many claims do you think you're submitting daily, between you and the other lady?
Oh, 142. Probably about 250 to 300, depending on the day.
Yeah. And hours, how many hours do you think you're putting in right now?
Well, right now with this account going live, I mean, I'm putting in a lot of hours during the day and do some stuff at night even. But I mean, this isn't a normal time. So typically, I would say if I worked 2 full days a week, I could probably get most of it done, if not all of it done.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good.
Yep.
All right, Ted says, when are the doctors paying you? What are the terms do you set up? And are they paying on time? Well, I think you addressed most of that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
terms, I give them 15 days.
From the date that you invoice them.
Correct.
Yeah. And Janice is asking, do you bill by the revenue, per claim, or hourly? And yours is by the revenue, right? A percentage of the revenue.
Correct.
All right. Steve says, based on the information he has shared, his revenue should be about 400,000 per year. Well, you don't have to answer that, Steve. I'm sorry. I read that out loud before I realized what he was asking there. It's kind of like when people ask me about my income. I don't even tell my wife what I make. So certainly not going to share that with total strangers. Let's see. Janice is. Well, at least they feel comfortable asking you these questions. You can see they feel very comfortable, Steve. It's probably your.
It's not quite that high, but it's getting there.
It's probably your picture I'm putting on the screen here. You look like a very trustworthy, honest guy.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Janice says, "Oh, here's a great question because a lot of people who train people how to get into this business, Steve, tell them that they give them a choice of the clearinghouses that they can pick from. There's half a dozen good clearinghouses out there that people can choose from if they get in this business, and they think that's an advantage. So Janice is asking, how did you find a clearinghouse?
I didn't have to find one.
Yeah, well, so what do you mean? It's like you don't have to go through one, or is it built in?
It's built into the system. Well, actually, what I should say, Janice, is that the system, the EMRX system was basically an iClaim system were built around a clearinghouse.
Yeah, and that's kind of hard for some people to grasp. But folks, the way we have set this up is we didn't want to point the finger somewhere else and say, oh, the reason your claim didn't go through is because the clearinghouse couldn't get it to go through or something like that. So we actually set it up, and I'm going to illustrate here on the screen. I have a slide for that from a previous webinar here. Basically, we are the clearinghouse. It's built into it. Other systems, like the one you see here, has to go through that clearinghouse and export their claims at the end of the day and then upload them to the clearinghouse. Now it's the clearinghouse's job to make sure that the insurance companies all get those claims in the right format. And that's why our own clearinghouse is actually built in. So basically, a clearinghouse reformats the data and scrubs it clean to make sure that there's no errors and gets it directly to them. So since ours is built into the iClaim system, we bypass that whole situation of you having to try to figure out how to set up a clearinghouse out there. Okay, so Sydney says there is a trend for doctors to become employees of large medical organizations instead of running their own practice. Is that affecting you, Steve?
First off, I stay away from those facilities just because, the hospital is going to dictate typically the systems that they use. And to be honest with you, those offices are incredibly miserable because they're out-of-date server-based systems. So in short, I stay away from those physicians, but is it impacting me? No, there's tons of other physicians out there.
Yeah, it's just like when my wife and I first started doing medical billing, Steve. This was back in the late 80s. Our question was, are all doctors going to be doing this electronically? Because remember, back then they were all doing it on paper. So I was going in and we were teaching them that, hey, we can do it electronically and send it electronically through this newfangled thing called the internet. So we thought within 2 or 3 years, all doctors would be submitting their own claims and we'd be out of business. So that happens periodically throughout this 20 years that we've been in this business. We have people come up with all kinds of reasons why, this is not going to work for them. And that is one of them, that they think that all the doctors are now going to go to the hospitals and big groups. But there will always be doctors, don't you think, Steve, that'll always want to have their own practice and not be an employee for somebody else?
Absolutely. I'm actually even talking to a radiologist right now who is a chief at a hospital, and he ran his own practice for, I think it was 17 years, and sold it to the hospital. And now he's so tired of being under the hospital's thumb that he is going back out on his own and opening up his practice again.
Yeah, I've heard that happening, and some of the doctors are not aware that when they do go to work for those other organizations and hospitals and things, their patients become theirs. Not the doctor doesn't have the right to those patients anymore.
Correct.
So they got to kind of start over from scratch. Ted is saying, do you do the live demos that ABS provides for the doctor's offices to help out with the sales process?
Do I do them personally? Is that the question?
I think he's just asking if you have them done, by us.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I have someone else do them. I've gotten to the point now where I can do them myself, and I'm sure, anyone who goes through the process and sees it done a few dozen times will grasp it very easily.
Yeah, you really can after watching our technical people. But the nice thing to know is that we can do those demos for you as many times and as long as you want us to do them, because they help us, close the deals for you. In fact, Steve, about 50% of all the demos that we're doing right now we're closing. So it's been very effective to show the doctor the actual system, the technology behind the magic, that you're doing for that doctor, because they don't really grasp, do they, until they see this live cloud-based system, how this can help their practice get more revenue in faster.
Definitely.
Let's see. Okay, here's one from, I'm trying to pick some out here that are just folks we haven't talked about yet. Let's see. Oh, here's one from Richard. Steve already has sales experience. He's talking about the fact that you were a pharmaceutical rep. Would it take longer for non-salespeople to get there, or does the ABS system speak for itself? What have you, what do you think about it?
I think the system speaks for itself. Yeah, I mean, I have experience from a sales perspective, but the one thing I always point out to everyone is, even though I was in pharma, none of my current clients were ever physicians that I knew when I was in pharma.
Say that again.
So my current clients, none of them were physicians that I called on as a sales rep in pharma.
Oh, okay. So these were all either fresh, brand new people that you'd run across, or referrals from the existing ones.
Correct.
Yeah. So you didn't, in other words, you didn't tap into your background, and I don't know how to address that, because we actually tell people when they come to training, and I don't know if I said this during your class or not, Steve, but we tell salespeople, if you've had sales experience, you kind of have to forget some of what you've learned, because this is not anything. You're not selling anything. You're literally just finding out if there's some pain, and then showing them what the remedy is for that pain.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, if those individuals, those physicians or office managers, if you strike a chord with them, and they trust you, then you're going to be able to get in with them and get their business.
Yeah, and that's why we give probably a dozen different ways to market, because since it's not a direct sales type service or product, you have to know how to educate the office manager and the doctor to where they want to outsource their billing to you. So it's an educational marketing type thing that we teach.
Yes,
let's see. Sydney wants to know, Steve, how long did it take you and your friend, I guess he's talking to the lady who works for you, to learn how to use the system, assuming she did not get training directly from ABS, but through you?
Yeah, she did not get training directly through ABS. As far as doing the claims, I think we really did that for maybe a couple of hours in Dallas, and that was all I needed.
Yeah, we give you, we put a laptop in front of people here, and like you said, Steve, within a couple of hours, you've actually put in patient data, you've you've actually submitted some claims, fake claims, of course, but you've actually used the system online through the cloud system, just like you would be if you were working from anywhere else. And that's about all you need.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as far as the lady who works for me, it was the same situation. I sat down with her for a few hours, and, she put in real claims, with me supervising, and, she was off and running.
Yeah, with technology that's available nowadays, you could even probably get online and watch her on the screen actually using it and use it and point out things to her. And it's great, the technology that's available. It's kind of like this one that we're using here for these webinars.
Right.
Okay, here's one from Steve. He says, does the one woman that works for Steve handle all of the claims processing?
No, she doesn't handle all of them. There are some workman's comp claims and automobile accident claims that I handle those myself.
Okay.
But all the others she handles. So she handles probably 80 to 85% of them.
Yeah. Well, good. That frees you up for kind of overseeing and managing and staying in contact with the doctors and doing whatever marketing that you might be doing now. Are you continuing to do any kind of marketing, or are you just kind of letting it grow organically now?
More organically. Once this account goes live that I'm doing now, and things are running smoothly, if I don't have anything in the hopper, I'll get back out from a marketing standpoint. But, fortunately, I've only had really like maybe a month to kind of do that in the past year and a half.
Yeah, that's what we hear from a lot of licensees. I've had them tell me, Patrick, we just did what you told us to do during that week, got our first client and did a good job supporting them, and then started getting referrals and never had to do any more marketing after that. So let's see. Richard wants to know, Steve, do you have to obtain paper from the doctor to enter the data, into the system? How do you get the data from the doctor if they're not using the electronic medical record system?
So, great question. I actually have it to where they either FedEx it to me. We also have a system, one of the options that I know Patrick will talk to you guys about.
Oh, the iDocs now, yeah.
Exactly, where the physician's office can actually scan the paperwork into your computer for you. So they can scan it from their office, and it'll come straight into your computer. It's HIPAA compliant, and then you'll have all the documentation you need.
Yeah, that's the service that you folks see on the screen right now in the bottom right-hand corner there. That's the iDocs Now system that he's talking about. And you're right, Steve, that system has been just a salvation for a lot of our licensees who are just getting buried in the paper. We finally figured out a way to do it all totally electronically. And it's pretty cool, isn't it? The doctors scan it in, and you have access to the online system where it goes and can then see the documents there. Have you got that set up with two monitors, or does this lady use two monitors? Like on one monitor, she's looking at what was uploaded from the doctor, and the other monitor has our system on it?
Yes, that's how she handles it.
Yeah, I mean, because that way you don't even have to touch paper at all, do you?
No, I mean, basically you look at it, you type in the information, you submit the claim, and then you delete it.
All right. All right, let's see. Here's one from Ted. He says, who is your competition, and what edge do you have over them?
That's an easy question. If you go online, you'll probably find out that there's probably, and I'm sure this number is off now, 500 different EMR systems in the country.
Oh, yeah.
However, whether or not they're certified for meaningful use stage 2 and so forth, that really cuts that gap down to, I want to say, about 30 or 40 systems now. And of all those systems, the big selling advantage is me. And I say that from the standpoint that I'm in the field, so offices are getting to deal with a real live person. And I haven't run into anyone else, any other company that has that.
Yeah, that makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Yep.
All right, let's see. Janice wants to know, what startup costs do you have?
$25,000.
That was it, huh? Just our
I mean,
licensing fee.
yeah. I mean, I did buy another computer, and I I bought a fax machine, a fax scanner, and all together. And I did buy a projector and a projection screen. That's it.
Okay. Well, and you probably bought those things as you were had some cash flow coming in.
Yeah, I mean, the projector was, whatever, a couple $100, and the screen's a couple $100. Initially, I was doing, demos, and I just wanted to have it blown up on the wall more professionally, so I bought those out of the gate. But, the new computer I didn't buy until, 3 or 4 months in. And so, I mean, really, other than the licensing fee, yeah, maybe $1,000, if that.
Yeah, so that's what we hear from most licensees. There's not a whole lot that you need other than a computer and a phone line. You can even do a lot of that faxing and all that stuff through virtual office numbers that we'll teach you how to get. So let's see, Alvin wants to know what's the percentage of money that you put back in for marketing? Did you set aside a certain amount? You said you didn't do much marketing right now, but
No,
how would
I
you?
really haven't. I haven't set aside any.
Yeah, so you really can't. That's kind of a hard one because some people might spend more money than others doing some marketing. Depends on how they're doing it.
Right.
We teach enough ways to market without having to spend money that you don't have to spend a whole lot if you don't want to, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I think out of the gate, Patrick, about the only thing I spent was, I think it was $250 to join my local chamber of commerce.
Well, that
Just from
was
a networking standpoint, but that was it.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's a reasonable amount of money to spend to connect with other business people in your community because all those people know somebody probably connected to the medical field. Uh, okay, there's a question here from Steve. Steve, I'm going to get back with you on that one directly because it has to do with whether or not he would would be able to hook up with somebody and actually go on some sales calls. He calls them with you at some point. But anyway, Steve, that asked the question, we will get back with you on that and see if we can hook you up with somebody. You certainly can visit some of our licensees that have opened their own offices. There are licensees across the country that would let you come visit them. Whether they'd let you go on a call with them or not to a doctor, I don't know how that would work. But okay, Janice wants to know, Steve, what is your niche? Do you have a niche? I guess physical therapy, is that, or now it's pain management?
Well, it looked like it was physical therapy there for a little while, but no, I don't know that there's any niche. Yeah, I mean, there's no one set specialty that I just go after because I think, I understand them better. It's just it's fallen the way it had. The chips have fallen the way they have.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. Whatever comes your way, as long as it's a profitable client, hey, why not do billing for that doctor? Janice says, what was that the cost for the system? I guess she's referring to when you mentioned the $25,000. Janice, that's on our website, by the way. The breakdown of what that investment is under business package. You'll see it right here, business package. So go take a look, and it'll tell you exactly what that investment includes. Richard wants to know, Steve, what percentage of claims rejected from the insurance companies require reworking?
I mean, everything that's rejected, I rework. Most of the claims that are rejected, they're rejected for something simple like maybe we didn't put a modifier on there, or whether it's because the entity's code was wrong or something like that. And I mean, if you're not billing it, you'll figure that out after you get in. But the tax ID and so forth have to match it perfectly. So when you first set up an account, sometimes those can get a little mixed up. But really, I mean, right now, I know my rejection rate is actually under 2% for all my clients. It's probably about 1/6 on average. So, you know, I mean, when you think about that and the, 300, 200 claims a day, it's really not a lot. I mean, you know, the rework at the end of the week may take me 20 minutes.
Yeah, and since it is such a low percentage in our system, then you don't really have to worry about that. But there are going to be some. I mean, there's just some things that will be rejected for a human error, if nothing else. The doctor may have given you the wrong information to begin with.
Yeah, and that's typically it. You know, a staff member in the office puts in, a wrong letter or an insurance number for a patient that doesn't come back through the real-time eligibility request. That's typically where it is.
Yeah. Ted is asking, Steve, why did you decide to have a partner? Is this a true partner in the sense that they're an investor with you, Steve, or?
That was really the sense of it, was so that we could split the price, the $25,000 in half.
Okay, yeah, so you just basically went in together, yeah. Janice says, what were some of the challenges that you encountered when starting up?
Challenges when starting up. Well, I mean, the first one is getting your first client, which, luckily for me didn't take that long. I think challenges, I mean, there's a little bit of a learning curve, just like anything that you do. You have to, you're going to learn a lot about billing in a very quick period of time. But, again, luckily, with the ABS support team, there's, you have somebody to fall back to ask questions and help you get through those things. So, I mean, there's that learning curve is obviously there.
Yeah, it's just like anything. We tell people it's like you're not going to learn every single thing that you need to know about this business in 5 days of training even down here. But we do have ongoing training webinars constantly that you can go to, and we have people that will handhold you through that process. A licensee support website that you can go to. Those are filled with all kinds of webinars and previous trainings that we do for our licensees on an ongoing basis. Let's see. All right. We're just about wrapping up here, I think. I got 2 other questions from Rich. I'm going to kind of put them all together because they're great questions, and then I'll let you go, Steve. This is from Rich. He says, well, wait, let me just answer this one first that just came in. What's the average payment time from the insurance company? How long does it take for the doctor to get paid from your insurance companies in general?
I mean, with the exception of workman's comp, because those are contracted to time, we're probably closer to 10 days, 8 days with most of our payers.
Yeah, that's pretty fast, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, some of them it's as quick as 3 days, and then, some of them are out to, right around 14, but I'd say on average it's 8 to 10 days.
Yeah, and for some systems, some medical billing companies, they think it's great if they get paid, within 45 days. So we've had licensees actually put the data in on Monday, Steve, and the doctor had the money on Friday of that same week.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. All right, here's the 2 questions from Rich I'm going to wrap up with. First one is, how do you get in to see the doctor? And then he wraps that up with another one here that I thought was good too. What is the most important advice that you can give us?
To get in to see the doctor, most of the time you're not going to walk into a doctor's office and somebody's going to walk you back and give you, 10 minutes with a doctor. Your biggest thing going into the office is finding out, who the office manager is. If it's a solo practice office, then, maybe you'll get some FaceTime with the doctor. But I think initially you just kind of have to find that person who's kind of running the office and try to spark up some type of relationship and interest with them. Because it's not always the doctor.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's sometimes the office manager knows a whole lot more than the doctor does.
Yes. And then I'm sorry, your second question was?
Well, he just basically says, what's the best advice that you can give us today?
When you get out there, this is, I know that you said this during our training that, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It takes work and, dedication and effort. And, if you're dedicated and you have drive, you can be successful with this. You're going to get the door shut in your face. You just can't get discouraged with it.
Sure. It's like everything else. Steve, thanks so much for being on here today and sharing your experience with us and your wisdom. It sounds like you've got a great business going, and I'm very proud of what you've done with it.
I appreciate it, Patrick. Thank you for everything.
You're welcome. Take care. All right, folks, our next training, as you see there on the screen, is coming up in November, 3 weeks from Monday. So if you plan to be in that one, you must get your paperwork done because seats are filling up in that class very quickly. And by the way, we do offer a money-back guarantee for those of you who are not aware of that. Here it is on the screen. It basically says what you see there on the screen. If at the end of the training workshop, and I need to change that because we've actually changed that in the agreement now, it says at any time during the training workshop, for any reason, you do not think this business is right for you, simply tell any staff member and they'll arrange for you to receive a full refund of your license fee. That's the best way we knew to assure you that what we're saying is true, because if you go through the week and it's not true, you can get your money back. So that wouldn't do us any good to mislead you with it. All right, well, folks, thank you for being on here today. We do these webinars every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Time. And by the way, the one next week is specifically about the new ICD-10 codes. Yes, you know that there's coding involved in the medical billing. You're going to see why you don't have to know anything about coding because it's all built into our system. But it's a great window of opportunity between now and next October of 2015 when the doctors must be ready for these new codes. And we're going to show you how our system is already ready for those codes. So be sure and register for that. In fact, let's see, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this webinar. Hold on just a second here. I'm sorry, I got stuff going here on my screen. I'm going to copy that little registration that you see there to the chat box. So look in the chat box down there, and you'll see that little code right now. That link is where you can go and register for next week's webinar. So thanks again for being on here. If we didn't get to your questions, by the way, we'll be doing that through email. All these questions go back to the ABS rep who sent you the email for this webinar. So we'll get to those questions if we didn't get to them otherwise. Thank you very much for your time, folks. I hope we see you at some of our upcoming training workshops. We only have this one coming up and one more in December, and that's it for 2014. Bye for now.